Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for a Tuesday. We don't do Tuesday Bayou Bets very often. We got one today after the Memorial Day holiday. We hope everyone enjoyed their extra weekend. I know we did. Spencer kind of had to work a little bit Monday, but, you know, it is what it is.
Someone had to do it.
Somebody had to do it. Zach is off traipsing the country watching baseball with his dad and his two sons. So here you go. You got Spencer and I, and we got a lot to talk about today. We'll get right to the headlines. Headlines today, Tulane and LSU. I don't know if a lot of people saw that coming, especially with the Green Wave being 19-40. Tulane and LSU will open up the Baton Rouge Regional on Friday at 3 p.m. That will get the afternoon start. The other game will be Oregon State and Sam Houston.
Yeah,
Oregon State and Sam Houston will be the 7 o'clock game. The two winners will face off the next day. The two losers will face off the next day. NBA Finals set. What a game last night. Oh, you haters out there. Nuggets and Heat. The Heat win Game 7. It was just too easy. Everybody and their grandma and Aunt Mabel and Aunt Jackie and Joe Blow and John Q. Public were all picking the Boston Celtics. There was no way they were going to lose. That's why I loaded up on the money line on the Heat to go with my Heat bets already. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. Stanley Cup Finals. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this today, but a weird matchup. I mean, who had Vegas and Florida in the Stanley Cup Finals, especially before the finals will start? I could see you picking Vegas because they were one of the top seeds. Florida was the 8th seed. They're kind of like the Heat. So they're enjoying sports down in Southern Florida right now. Both the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat are going for titles. And then the Saints' second 3-day workout, OTAs, begins tomorrow. Actually, today. Did it begin today? I think it began.
Yeah, today's Tuesday. So
yeah, I'm all messed up. I am all messed up today. It is what it is. But we'll be all messed up. You'll be with us all messed up. Mr. Horace is here. Good afternoon. I think you know that dude.
Oh yeah, we go way back.
You go way back, way back. All right, let's start off today by talking about, as we get into the let's start with baseball because I think it's an interesting matchup. You know, when you talk about Tulane going on a run, and they have been terrible all year. Let's face it. Let's be honest. I mean, Tulane's been terrible. Tulane fans tell me they've been terrible. So I'm not saying anything that they aren't saying themselves. So to be able to go through this tournament and the American Athletic Conference tournament and play some really good teams in that tournament and finish with top seeded East Carolina, beat them, and move on and win your conference tournament, and you make it the NCAA tournament, it just goes to show that they underperformed all year long, Spencer, the Green Wave.
Right. Yeah, it just goes to show how anything's possible in baseball, because you look at their resume, they got 40 losses. I mean, they have no chance. They're going to be one and done, and they go through the tournament. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I feel like it's probably going to come to an end here in this regional. You know,
a lot of people say
there's a whole nother level of baseball here going against Oregon State and, of course, LSU. But we'll see how it goes. Definitely a cool story, and it's been a great year for Tulane athletics. The baseball team didn't want the football team to get all the shine because they made a little run for themselves here.
Yeah, it's my Tulane friends asking what was the bigger upset, that Tulane won the Cotton Bowl over USC or that they made it to the regionals. And I think making it to the regionals has got to be bigger upset. However, I will say this is going in at plus 3,000. I think the Heat were something along the lines of plus, I want to say they were somewhere around the same number to win the NBA Finals before the championship. In fact, I think they were higher. And so now they're in an NBA Final situation. So you want to make even more money. If Tulane were to make the most unprecedented run of all of winning the championship, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Can they win the College World Series? I mean, stranger things have happened, right?
Man, come on. Now we're going crazy.
$10 would get you $5,000. Jerry's here with us today. Jerry, you want to win $5,000? Yeah, all you got to do is put $10 on Tulane. No, I'm not advocating that at all. All right, let's talk about LSU and Tulane as we look at the odds for just this one game, the money line. LSU is a 5.5 to 1 favorite if you go by Caesars Sportsbook. Got to bet $550 to win 100 if you want to bet on LSU, or 55 to win 10. And if you want to bet on Tulane, you bet $100, you win 400 if Tulane were to upset LSU. And Spencer, going into this one, I have not seen, I don't think there's been any official announcement, but it would shock me to the core if Paul Skeens were to pitch in game one here. They're going to hopefully try to win this one, maybe with Hurd as they did in game one of the SEC tournament, and then get to day two and have Skeens ready to pitch on day two so they could just jump right into that regional championship game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think they save Skeens because I feel like they should win this easy no matter who they pitch. I mean, it's a team that – I mean, LSU's a team that's been top of the charts. They were nationally ranked number one for the most weeks out of anybody. And this Tulane team is a team that wasn't expected to be here. It was a lost season up until the conference tournament. So, yeah, you definitely don't want to waste Skeens here. I guess if they lose, you're like, well, you should have used him. But I don't think there's – I mean, if this LSU team's serious about Omaha, they'll take care of business easily in this matchup.
Oh, we're going to talk more about Omaha in just a little bit. We're going to talk about Omaha right now, as a matter of fact. But I mean, we're going to save my rant, get into more about LSU at the end of the show. We also have an interesting segment coming up that I didn't mention in the headlines, by the way. We're going to talk about SEC football scheduling. So you might want to stick around for that. That is going to be the last of our four segments in this show before we get to the rants about potential scheduling, how they're working in Texas and Oklahoma as they join the SC in 2024. It could be a really good thing for LSU, could be a weird thing for LSU. It's going to be weird for everybody, and we're going to get to that again in our last segment. We definitely want to spend some time talking about that. You know, I showed Jerry's comment. He said he wouldn't mind $5,000, but he doesn't gamble. Well, I appreciate you watching the Bayou Bet Show if you don't gamble, you know. And your dad's saying you need to mention UL. We're going to talk about that. In fact, we're going to talk about that right now a little bit. But, you know, LSU just about a month or so ago, Spence, they were in Wake Forest's spot. I believe they were plus 400 as the number one team in the country. They were the favorite to win it all. Now they're the second favorite, tied with Florida at plus 800. They actually might be a little bit of a value now at plus 800. At plus 400, I said you just can't bet on LSU. But I think at this point, I'm not going to go out as far to say I call it value, but I think they have a better than 50-50 chance to get to Omaha, which then gives them a 1 out of 8 chance if you just made all the teams even, but I don't think they're even. So I think actually plus 800 might be a good number for LSU.
Yeah, I can see it. You know, I feel like all the LSU, Florida, Arkansas, I feel like they're all might be worth a flyer. To me, the only thing that's not a value here is Wake Forest, like plus 400. They haven't had to play SEC competition. They've been playing well, but that number is absurd. I mean, we look at Tennessee last year. Like, we saw that win. So you never want to bet the favorite. But honestly, as far as value, I mean, I know they're not on this list because then we got to get to our other Louisiana schools, including my Raging Cajuns. But Vanderbilt, I feel like, could be a really good value, as well as Tennessee, Kentucky, and Texas A&M. It's just, but the way the SEC is, it's hard not to like some SEC schools. So to me, if you're going to take a chance on a few, I'd say just take like 4 or 5 SEC schools and hope they make the run.
I agree, and I like your thought process. They're not on here, but we have a post we put up this morning, top 10 favorites in the College World Series. You might want to check it out on bet.nola.com, including, as we talked about, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I think who else was in there? South Carolina from the top 10 from the SEC was in there. So it's chock full of SEC schools. I actually like Vandy the way they're playing. I think they were plus 1,800 or something along those lines. So
yeah, they won the SEC tournament. They did it in dominant fashion over A&M. They had a freaking ginormous, I think, 8th inning where they just pounded them.
Yeah, well, and they got all watching. I didn't watch it until after it was over, and I didn't know what happened. I was actually at the gym yesterday. It was on, so I watched the last few innings on a treadmill. And to see the face of the Texas A&M coach as they continue to get pounded and pounded and pounded, there was nothing they could do. I mean, you know, Vandy would just had the bats out and they were working. That's a scary team because they're not like a real potent, powerful type team. But they got a team that runs and does all the things right, and they field the ball really well. Very interesting team. They could make a run. I wouldn't put it past them for sure.
Right. Yeah, I think their regional's not too tough, so I think they should be able to make it out there fairly easily. And I noticed how some regionals seemed kind of like some didn't seem quite as tough. Like we're speaking of UL, I feel like UL got kind of a tough draw as Miami and Texas in there. So it might be a tough road for my Raging Cajuns, but they're capable of playing really well. So it might put a buck on them. I think they were 200 to 1.
Yeah, why not? Spence also posted something about if you want to go and look all the regional matchups and all the odds and all the regionals, it's worth checking out. Bet.NOLA.com. That was up earlier this morning. You can go check that out, or maybe it was yesterday.
I got it up yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. But go check that out. Also, before we take off, I want to talk a little bit more about LSU, and we just kind of touched on it that Paul Skeens probably almost surely won't pitch the game against Tulane. But at the same time, Spence, this LSU team cannot overlook anyone. I don't care how good people think they are. And I know a lot of Tigers fans out here, blah, 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 blah. The poor mouth and crying LSU fans already. That this team is just, they don't have the pitching. Nobody has pitching. That's what people don't understand. I mean, it's really who can get through unscathed the least, basically, to get to Omaha when it comes down to it. Because I think LSU's pitching probably lines up with just about everyone else. They just got to be able to hit. That's what they didn't do in the SEC tournament. I thought their pitching was fine. They didn't hit the ball when they needed to. And, even like Dylan Cruz didn't come up with a big hit. So they can't overlook Tulane, and they certainly can't overlook Oregon State or Sam Houston if that's who it is. But they've got to win this Tulane game, and Skeens has got to pitch better in the regional than he pitched in the SEC tournament.
Right. I think the bumpy tournament road, though, might have been good. It might have been a good wake-up call. Kind of like with LSU women, Kim Mulkey, I think she kind of got on them and motivated to make a deep run. So I think Jay Johnson will be able to get these guys going because, they've got the talent. This team is so talented to where if they're focused, they should make it to Omaha.
Yeah, I agree. All things even if they play their game, and I think that they actually think minus 190 might not be a bad number. I don't usually like minuses in regionals, but I think in this case, I think LSU's the overwhelming favorite. I think they got a fairly good draw. Oregon State is a little bit scary, and you don't like playing Tulane, period. LSU fans, especially ones as old as I am, have seen through the years that Tulane has given LSU the business. Let's just put it that way throughout the years. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on because we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to talk about LSU baseball in my rant later, but I want to get to some of the other topics. And of course, I want to talk about the NBA Finals. The Miami Heat taking on the Denver Nuggets last night. Spence, I'm not railing on you as much as our friend Zach, who I know isn't watching right now, but I'm still going to rail on him anyway. He's giving me little side punches, and, he didn't like it last night when I punched back. Still, 151-0 now. The team that goes up 3-0 in the NBA Final, or actually any series in the NBA playoffs, is 151-0. And that streak continues as the Miami Heat go to Boston. Nobody thought after that weird, strange, obnoxious finish on Saturday, the way the Celtics won with the last tenth of a second tap back, that they were going to be able to, that no one was going to be able to beat them. But Eric Spoelstra is so damn good of a coach. And that, to me, that's what it comes down to. And the Heat were just the better team last night.
Oh, 100%. It wasn't even close. It just goes to show that the Celtics with that first-year coach, they just weren't really ready for this moment. And I feel like they might have to break up that core because, they're going to keep Tatum, but Jaylen Brown is just like him and Tatum just don't gel well together a lot of the times. So they're going to be serious about making finals runs consistently, which I know that's the standard in Boston. They're probably going to have to make some changes. Just like, look, the Bucks fired their coach, 76ers fired Doc Rivers. All these teams in the East are panicking. But that's why you mentioned Spoelstra, Jim, and that's one consistent thing the Heat have is they've got probably the best head coach in the Eastern Conference, maybe the whole NBA, and it's showing. You don't normally think of coaching as being that important in the NBA, but it's coming to light here with this Heat run because there's the 8th seed. They should have been. They barely made it out the play-in tournament. They lost to the Hawks, and people are like, "Oh, they might not even make it." And now they're just rolling. And Jimmy Butler's a great player, but a lot of this has to do with how they're so fundamentally sound and have all their role players complement one another.
You think about it, and Jimmy Butler is a great player. But you look at the Bam Adebayo is okay. I mean, he's a good player. He's not. I wouldn't call him a great player. He's certainly not elite. So go ahead, call him a good player. I'm a great player. Call him a great player if you want. So you got Jimmy Butler, you got Bam Adebayo, and a bunch of okay, they're NBA players, big deal. And Eric Spoelstra turns these guys, this 8 seed that you talk about, who lost to the Hawks and almost didn't even make it into the tournament, somehow get in. They're the 8 seed, and yet here they are finding ways to win over and over and over and over again. And it wasn't just Jimmy Butler this time. It was all Jimmy Butler in the conference semifinals. But in this round, it wasn't. It was a bunch of them. It was insane how they put
Caleb
things together.
Martin last night, he had 30. He had a guy he's normally pretty good, but if he was on any other team, I don't think we'd be talking about Caleb Martin as a potential dark horse finals MVP. I mean, it's you never know if he gets
He's
hot.
40-1, I think.
Yeah, it might be a value there. I've had Jamal Murray. I know we'll get to that on Thursday, I'm sure, but my personal best bet for MVP is Jamal Murray at plus 800. Joker is just he's minus 3 something, minus 320. You just can't bet on that. As great as Joker is, I can't lay that much juice.
Here's why I just wouldn't bet it at all. If I were gonna bet, if you were make me, I want to put $5 down on it, and let's just do it to do it. Okay, I'll put $5 down on Jamal Murray because you're right, you can't bet Joker. But at the same time, I just don't see that there is anyone on this Heat team that can stop Nikola Jokic. He just can't be stopped. They're really, I mean, you think about it, at least the Lakers had guy, AD is good enough defensively to at least be a pain in his butt,
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron can get at him when he needed to because he's that athletic. I just don't know. You tell me Bam Adebayo can't cover Jokic.
Yeah, it's gonna be an uphill battle. I think the return of Tyler Hero could help, but that won't be till game 3. And if they're already in a 2-0 hole, it's so hard to win in Denver. I'm probably not gonna bet the series price here. I'm tempted to bet the Heat, but I feel like I missed the boat on that. I should have bet them in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just feel like betting them to win the finals is just. I feel like it's just the Magic's going to end at some point because as well coached as the Heat are, the Nuggets are also very fundamentally sound and have a better overall roster.
Well, here's my time to brag. I don't get a lot of chances, so I'm going to do it here. Got the Denver Nuggets. I think it was before the conference semifinals when they were about to play. Who they play in the conference semifinals? God, I'm drawing out Phoenix.
Yeah.
As they were about to play Phoenix, I went and got them they were plus 410 still. And I couldn't believe the odds, so I went and grabbed them there. And then the Heat were up. I think it was when they were up 2-0, or they were either up 2-0 or 3-0. No, must have been 2-0. Got them at plus 450 still. I couldn't believe that as they were going back to Miami. So I got the Nuggets at plus 410 and the Heat at plus 450. I can't lose, Spence. So I'm not going to put any more money on this. And I doubled up last night. I was all over the money line and had it with the spread last night. There was too many people. I think every single, and I talked about 25 different people asking opinions, and every single one of them said there was no way the Celtics don't win last night. That's what they thought. So,
yeah, and I was one of them. I'll admit I got suckered in because it was just I just felt like, how could you not? The hype was just all in their favor, all the momentum. I was just and then Tatum, I was like, him and Brown, they're going to have to come together for this, right? Game 7 at home. But it just goes to show that they've got issues over there. And I think they're going to make some wholesale changes.
That being said, going into this one, again, I already have my money down, so I'm not going to bet. But if I were going to this clean and didn't have any bets and wanted to place a bet, I will say this. I very, very, very rarely going to endorse a non-value bet because it's not a value bet. But I don't think there's any way the Heat beat the Nuggets. I really don't. In fact, I think a better bet, and we don't have a slide for this, but you can bet the Nuggets to either sweep, I think at plus 525, or to win in 5 games at plus, I think it was plus 275. So if you wanted to put a little bit of something on those two things, and that leads me into our poll question. And our poll question of the week is this, and you can go. We fully endorse you and ask you to go to bet.nola.com and vote of our poll question of the week, which is who will win the NBA Finals and in how many games. We have the Denver Nuggets 4 or 5 games, Denver Nuggets 6 or 7 games, and then the same for the Heat 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. And Spence, again, if I were going into a dry and I just wanted to put some money down, I might take $38 and put it on the Nuggets to win 10, but you simply can't bet the Heat. I don't think 3 if they play this out 4 times, I don't think the Heat are going to win any of them. I guess that's the way I'm going to put it.
Yeah, I think the Heat could maybe give them a little fight, and I still think I'll go Nuggets in 5. It's just minus 380. It's just a lot to pay. I'd rather just pay for the whatever the Nuggets in 5. I take a gamble with that and just hope they do it in 5 because you're not getting any value at minus 380. And with the way the Heat are so well coached, it's like, I mean, nothing would shock me. I think that's about fair for them. I think about 1 out of 3 times they win this series because I think if Jimmy Butler and them, they can take 1 of 2 in Denver, we've got us a series. I think if Denver goes up 2-0, it's over. But if Miami can steal one on the road, this could get really interesting. I
just don't think they're going to win any of them, and I'm going to tell you why. I think game 1, I don't care, and the line's 8.5. I guarantee you, if I bet anything, it's going to be Nuggets minus 8.5. The Heat they've gone through this emotional series, the 3-0, then the 3-3, and having to win and focusing so much on last night and going to Boston to do so. And now they have to travel to the thin air of Denver and go to Mile High, where the Nuggets have just been resting and rubbing their hands together and going, give me some Miami Heat, because I guarantee you that's what they wanted, and they got what they wanted. I think game 1's a blowout. Now, game 2 may be a better game, but I think game 1's going to be a blowout. I think the Nuggets win easily. Again, we'll talk about this more on Thursday because our show Thursday will be before game 1. Make sure you check us out Thursday at 4 o'clock. But I just don't see how you can bet the Heat at all in any shape or form. And I think betting them to sweep, which is a distinct possibility at plus 525. So again, the last I saw it, maybe a little bit of a value. We'll see. All right, let's move on. Let's have a little Saints talk because I want to get to the last 2 things before I rant in the next 8 to 9 minutes or so. And there's not a whole lot of news out of Saints camp right now. We had a story about Derek Carr learning the terminology for learning Saints terminology now, and Dennis Allen making sure that Pete Carmichael, look, remember, this is the Saints offense. So they don't want to change a whole lot of things, which that's the way that I read through the lines, Spencer. I really thought that was interesting reading that story, and you can go check it out on NOLA.com/sports/Saints, I believe. And just Derek Carr learning the terminology because they're not changing a whole lot of stuff. Derek Carr is going to have to adjust. The Saints aren't adjusting back to him, which I like and I am okay with. But before we get into our talk of the day about DeAndre Hopkins, I want to get your take on that. And, I know John Gruden's going to be part of your rant later on.
Oh, yeah.
But what have you read through OTAs and things that you see? It looks like the Saints are kind of going status quo, which I like. If it ain't fixed, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And really, I know it's been 2 disappointing seasons per se, but really you don't want to change too much because this is a winning formula.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, this is a huge year. I feel like they're playing the long game here as far as they don't want to make drastic changes, but they better deliver this year. That's all I'm going to say, because the fact is the offense has been broken the past years. It has been a problem. I was on the side of fire Pete Carmichael, but they've stuck with him, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, now they've got Derek Carr. There's no excuses. Because he paid Derek Carr a lot of money, to where if this thing's a flop, then you're going to have to make another change next offseason. So hopefully things work out, have some stability at the quarterback position, stability with the play calling, because we know how the NFL cycle is. It's a brutal cycle. If you don't get results, you got to make changes. And the Saints made the big change at QB. So hopefully it works. And they feel like they've got enough weapons. And then we're going to talk Hopkins here. I give a quick take on that. I just don't really see the fit, because I feel like the Saints have enough right now, assuming Michael Thomas is healthy, to where it's probably not worth bringing in another aging veteran. Because, I mean, you
Yeah.
got Michael Thomas already. And we saw with Jarvis Landry, we thought that was going to work out last year. That was a disaster. So I think the Saints receiver room's okay. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but it's doable. And now they've got Foster Moreau in there. Hopefully he can stay. I forgot what he had, the cancer diagnosis. Yeah. Hopefully that can stay in the clear, because that's another good weapon there for Derek Carr.
Yeah, and for him to have familiarity there, the Saints actually, we haven't talked about this in a while. The Saints are actually in pretty good cap shape. In fact, they're as good as almost anyone in the league when it comes to the cap at this point. They are like, I think they were like 6th in the league when it comes to cap room. So that's a far cry from being 32nd, which is where they were all last year and into the offseason. So they've done a really good job at fixing that situation, at least for now. But they also have to think about, going forward. We talk about this. The Saints are kind of in the same cap hell almost every year. And I don't think next year is going to be any different, especially now with Derek Carr and his contract. So that being said, look, if DeAndre Hopkins were going to be able to come in here and play for this team for a few years, and I don't know what role he would fit in this team. If Michael Thomas is back, I mean, you already have Olave, who's kind of a burner, and you got Shaheed. I don't know. I already don't know kind of what role Michael Thomas is going to play. So I think it would create more question marks than it would anything. Right. I think for the Saints, if they were going to go out and get a free agent, I think they'd be better off getting like a Hunter Renfrow. A, because he's already worked with Derek Carr, and B, because he can play the slot. I just think that he would be a better fit free agent-wise. Now, that would cause a problem more for next year, because you're not going to sign Hunter Renfrow to a one-year contract where you could sign DeAndre Hopkins probably to a one-year contract. Hunter Renfrow is going to require 2 to 3 years. So I think they need more depth at wide receiver. Go ahead, Spence.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say Hunter Renfrow is still under contract, but there are rumors that the Raiders are looking to move on.
Yeah, he's going to be a post-June 1st salary cap release.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's going to be gone. That's pretty much a done deal. I was surprised, actually, that the Cardinals didn't wait until after June 1st to get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure why they didn't wait, but so now they're on the hook. They got $27 million dead cap money they got to eat for releasing DeAndre Hopkins. So, and he's free to go wherever he wants now. But we'll see. He hasn't mentioned the Saints at all. A couple of the teams that he mentioned, of course, he wants to go to the championship contenders, but they don't have any money. So the Bills and the Chiefs, I don't see him going there. We'll see where he goes, and we'll see. We'll be talking more about the Saints OTAs as we get to Thursday, the Thursday show. They'll be wrapping up this round of OTAs. I think then they take a week off, and then they had the mandatory mini camp the second week of June. So that's coming up. We'll be talking about all that coming up. Zach's going to be back, I believe, a week from Thursday will be Zach's first show back, and then I'm going to be taking vacation sometime in June, and so we'll Spencer.
Same for me, yeah.
We rest up a little bit in the summer. We do what we can, but we're going to be talking more Saints for sure on Thursday as they wrap up this round of voluntary OTAs. I want to get to this next topic, which is our final topic of the afternoon before we get to our rants. And I was going through some stories and trying to find out, what would be an interesting topic to talk about. And I ran across Scott Rabalay's story / column about talking about SEC football meetings are up, and they're talking about how they're going to fix this schedule when Texas and Oklahoma come in 2024, and it's no question they're going to look different. And it looks to me like they're leaning towards I don't think they're going to be divisions anymore. I think it's going to be one long list of teams now, Spence, kind of like they do in baseball and in basketball. I think they're going to get rid of the divisions. And so the way that it's going to most likely work at this point in time, they're trying to decide whether they're going to play a 9-game conference schedule, which in turn would give you 3 permanent opponents. And in this case, according to advocate writers, the 3 permanent opponents for LSU would be Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M if they go to an 8-game conference schedule. 9-game conference schedule. You would play 5 SEC games at home, and you would play 4 on the road 1 year, and then the next year would be reverse. You play 4 home SEC games 1 year and 5 the next. Or they're talking about potentially going to an 8-game SEC, which is what they have now. But it would be different because in an 8-game conference schedule, you obviously would play 4 games home, 4 games on the road. But every team would have only one permanent opponent, meaning they would play that one opponent every year. Now we know how Alabama's gotten lucky with that throughout the year. Saban doesn't like the 3-game thing, the 9-game conference schedule, because let's be frank, he likes being able to have patsies on his schedule. And he doesn't like the fact that he would have to play Auburn every year and everything else would rotate anymore. So LSU would be Texas A&M if they went to that format. It's just interesting to me, Spence, to see all the different options that the SEC is going to have. But the fact that they're thinking about it now, they're thinking about what's going to happen. Also in 2024 is when the 12-team playoff schedule starts. The overall 12-team playoff across college football. The SEC is going to do whatever it can to make sure that they have as many teams in that thing represented as possible.
Right. Yeah, which is why they'll probably end up going with the 8 games, but I'd rather 9. I love more SEC games. I'm tired of these. Exactly. See what UVN saying? Yeah, Saban. It's like, it's just he loves those cupcake opponents but that's just not good. Not good entertainment. It's disgusting to watch because it usually always ends in a butt whooping. Every now and then the small schools show up, but it's so rare that it's like, why are we wasting our time with this crap? To me, Power 5s should only play Power 5s. They should not have this, especially. It's one thing if you're going to play a group of 5 like Tulane or UL, but all this playing Nichols, McNeese, that's got to go, man. A Southern. I mean, we saw how ugly that got last year. It's just absurd.
Yeah, and then didn't they play like New Mexico or something like that? And I think New Mexico didn't get a first down until like the 3rd quarter or something stupid.
Yeah,
like
they're a group of 5. But yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, you should only have like 1 or maybe 2 games like that. The rest should.
I agree.
I'd be for Power 5.
I'd be for a 10-game SEC schedule if they wanted to do it. But it's funny because for the last, I don't know how long it's been since Texas A&M and Arkansas joined the league, with the late 90s or something like that. And they've had this schedule. And every team has a permanent opponent from the other division. Well, LSU's is Florida. We know Florida is good every stinking year, right? Alabama's had Vanderbilt. I mean, and so, I mean, it's ridiculous. They get Vanderbilt every year. LSU gets Florida every year. Of course, Saban doesn't like this. So Saban's going to cry and wah. You know what? You're old enough to retire. Why don't you just go into your coaching, wherever it is? Don't get me started.
Coaching's all he knows. He's not going to want to retire. He's going to be bored.
Nick Saban
is with Belichick. That's all. Coaching's all they know. So.
Nick Saban is one of the least personable people on this planet. I'm just going to say that as someone who's been in this business for a long time. Luckily, I didn't have to deal with him too much. But man, he was not an easy dude to deal with on a regular basis. But look, I think the 9-game conference schedule is a good thing. I don't love the 3 permanent. I don't think you should have any permanent. I don't like this permanent opponent thing. I don't know why you do any permanent opponent. Just rotate it around. You play 9 different SEC schools, and there's going to be 16 in the league. So you play 9, which means you play everybody every other year, and once in a blue moon, you play somebody back-to-back years, or play them back-to-back years and do it the same schedule 2 years in a row. However you want to do it. Just I don't like the permanent opponent thing. I just don't. I get you trying to preserve the Alabama Auburns and the Ole Miss Mississippi States and all those sorts of things, but to me it just doesn't work. It's not fair to some teams either.
Mm-hmm. I hear your point. I feel like though for the rivalry's sake, they're going to keep permanent opponents. Like you got to have the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl. They're gonna keep those. They're gonna preserve those.
You can still play them every other year, but
they want those every year. Like there's no way they're gonna get rid of them. They're gonna have at least 1 permanent opponent.
Well, we'll see how that works out. But again, this is a story for sure to watch. It may not be settled at this set of meetings, but it may. I know there's also, if you go and read Rab's column, it's on our LSU page. It's very interesting. I mean, I actually went and read it twice because I knew there were things I was going to miss. I'm slow. I mean, I went to Shaw, so I'm a little slow. So I went through it and read it twice, and a lot of it has to do with their contract with ESPN, which doesn't run out until after Texas and Oklahoma join. So they're trying to renegotiate a new deal, kind of, but they really can't right now because they know that what kind of bank they can get. And also ESPN's really not in a financial situation to where they can do the kind of contract it's probably going to take at the moment. So that's going to be interesting because, again, the whole wide world of Disney is in a financial hurt right now for whatever reason. But they've got some issues to work out. We'll see how they work them out. But that's when that contract comes up, don't be surprised at all if some big players get involved in that, or if the SEC just decides, you know what, we're just going to do our own thing, which is also very possible. We'll see how that works out. More to come on the SEC and their football schedule. All right, let's get to our rants before we go off the air today. Spencer, we're going to start off with you. I'm going to let you just talk, and then I'll give you my opinion on it. But, yep, there sure has been a lot of people going off about John Gruden coming in and helping the Saints. You say a lot to do about nothing.
Yeah, I feel like this is all about nothing. He's just coming in to tell Derek Carr a few things. It's kind of similar, like in West Coast offense, Saints offense, kind of along those lines. But the reason I'm ranting about it is because I'm just so sick of Twitter. All these people make, oh my God, John Gruden's at Saints camp. What's going on? Oh man, he's gonna come in and make all kind of changes. Well, guess what? The Saints didn't hire him. Why are y'all so worried about this? He's just there because he's cool with Derek Carr and he's bored because he got canceled by the NFL. No one wants to hire him, so he's just trying to help out a friend in Carr. But it's nothing though, because it's OTAs. It's one of those things. It's just kind of, you're just bridging the gap as far as the language of the plays and all that. And this is all this is. It's just a friendly deal. It's nothing. They like we said earlier, Jim, they're keeping things pretty status quo. They're not going to have John Gruden come in and shake things up. So,
well, you know what? Spence, you do what you have to do to win football games, right? And if you think John Gruden's going to come in and help you behind the scenes, and if he spends a week or two with Derek Carr and Pete Carmichael and try to come up with ways to, like you said, let him be the Ronnie Lamarck of this football team. Let him bridge the gap and kind of help get the two on the same page. I don't understand what the big deal is, but then social media makes a big deal about everything.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I mean, but you know what? A lot of people don't work and they don't have anything better to do. That's a whole nother story, probably for another show. Anyway, I agree with you 100%, Spencer. They did not hire him. And even if they did, we could talk about it then. But still, I mean, if they hired him to be a consultant, I don't know that I'd have a problem with it, because it's not like he's going to be on the sideline or in the booth. He's going to be helping. And, I thought we believed in second chances. I guess that doesn't work anymore. That's a story for another show probably, but God forbid we ever give anyone a second chance. All right, my rant today is pretty straightforward. There is no fooling around for these LSU baseball Tigers. Anything less than a trip to Omaha is more than a great disappointment. I mean, after all the hype this team had coming into the season, I think with a top 3 or top 4 ranking, and quickly assumed the number 1 ranking, which they held for about 2 months, until they kind of faltered towards the end of the season. And look, if anything else, you know me, Spencer, I'm one of these guys that, if you're coming at me from a weird side, I'm going to laugh at you a little bit when it happens. And what I mean in this case is, the Heat thing last night, of course I jumped on the text first as soon as it was over, or almost over last night. Well, guess what? Same thing for a lot of my LSU friends who have been poo-pooing these Tigers and saying, they just can't win. They don't have any pitching. They stink. Their coaching stinks. So they can't hit, or this dude can't do this. My next door neighbor can't wait for me to come outside in the morning, because he doesn't watch the NFL. He doesn't watch the NBA. All he watches is LSU, and his life is ruined right now because these LSU Tigers, who were so great 6 weeks ago, now they stink. Well, guess what? They've been kind of playing around the whole cat and mouse thing. I think they're ready to make a run, but I will be with the poo-pooers coming up. If anything less than a trip to Omaha and you got to feel like this season is a major disappointment. That being said, I think they're going to show their true colors. I think they're going to win this regional easily. We'll see what happens next weekend. Can't put the cart ahead of the horse, but I like LSU's chances, but I'm going to be with them and very disappointed if the Tigers don't at least go to Omaha.
Right, because these talented rosters like this don't come around every year. And you've got Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, and all the rest of the guys they've got. I know Skeens and Cruz get all the pub, but they've got a lot of other talent there as well. That's if you don't take advantage of that, it's going to be major disappointment. It's going to be like it'll be similar to Tennessee last year, because I know Tennessee had a regular season record, but I mean, considering how long LSU was number one in the polls and such, and how much hype they have, it's Omaha or bust. Simple as that.
We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting run. Again, that starts on Friday. There you see your World Series favorites. LSU is the second favorite, tied with Florida, and Florida's going down. I had them at plus. I got them at plus 1,000 a week ago. They're plus 800 now. So it's going to be interesting. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel if you haven't already. I think we're close to that 100 mark. We're looking for subscribers. So don't forget, we're going to be back on Thursday. Spencer and I will also be back next Monday before Zach comes back. Again, he is traipsing around the country, going to baseball games with his dad and his kids, and it's one of those super special trips. And we know he's having a good time. He probably doesn't even miss us, but that's okay.
I don't blame him. I mean, get you a vacation and enjoy that, man. 'Cause that's one of those trips that it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities. So yeah, definitely happy to see Zach doing that with his dad and his kids. That's pretty cool. 3 generations.
Absolutely, and I was lucky enough to have a trip with brought my son. We went to spend 10 days in Wrigley Field. When he was 9, he's now 25, and I'm about to be a grandfather in a couple of weeks. So I know what that's like, and I remember that trip very well back just, 16 years ago. Seems like yesterday. So, yep, absolutely. I hope he's having a good time. And we will have a good time on Thursday. Again, we'll be talking about Saints. We'll be talking about LSU, previewing. We'll spend more time probably breaking down LSU Tulane on Thursday than we did today. Today was kind of an overall reach. Thursday, the game being Friday. Of course, we're going to talk about more specifically. Again, it was an overall NBA theme. On Thursday, it will be more talk on game one itself. Maybe we will have changed our minds. I don't know. Saints are going to be wrapping up their OTAs, and we'll find something else interesting to talk about, along with our rant. Jim and Spencer will be back on Thursday. We'll see you then. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you in a couple days. Thanks for watching.